I hope you've been enjoying the content on this latest VFC gas blowback that I've had, which is the version 3 URGI. Now, I did note in the gauntlet that the accuracy wasn't the best, so of course we're going to put some upgrade parts into this. I bought a bunch of stuff off WGC, which has now turned up. I bought a couple of these Magnus Pro chambers because a lot of you guys saying that they're very good, so we'll give those a go. I bought two. One's loose in the box, but might just be a bit of courier damage there. Some of the 4UAD friction pros to go along with them, and then the barrels, just I'm going to put something in. I'm going to change one over to a brass barrel that I've just got spare at the moment, and then we'll work something out with a nice fancy stainless barrel. So I've also bought another outer barrel because getting outer barrels is quite difficult for these VFCs. No one has them in stock. The closest thing I could find was this 10.5 inch, which is a VFC barrel. But what I did notice was that the most important part of it, which is this piece here, we should be able to, it looks like we'll be able to change out. So this looks like it's two pieces, so maybe we can unthread that and then turn our own barrel. Who knows? This is the major piece that we need. If this fits the build for the bolt action upper, then happy days, I won't have to change it and we'll just run it as it is. So we'll get that out the way because this and the AR bolt action conversion kit will do in a future video. So we're going to pull this thing apart and see what's going on. So first of all, pull some of these accessories off here and make some space. Take the Sandman off. And then we need Torx. Do I have the right size? Torx of that size. What size is this? 27. So it's going to be a 30. I don't know where my 30's gone. It should be close enough just to get it loose. Yeah. Then we've got a couple of big bolts on this handguard. I think I'm going to leave this in its blowback variant, because I'm going to have two uppers for this thing. I'm going to leave it with the URGI. We can change it at a later date if needed, but apart from it just looking a little bit bland because everything's blank, which we can solve in future, you know, the Mark 16 handguard is more than adequate. So can we, I'll turn the torch on there, take this off, and then this gas block actually operates as the adjuster, which I think when we fit this we won't have to worry about that, so we could just get rid of it. As far as taking it off, I presume it's pretty self-explanatory, so take this flash hider off. You've got that aluminium barrel there, so 2mm I think we need. There it is. I imagine this will just slide off. We might need 3mm. Maybe loose this off to separate it. I'm not sure if it'll all come off as one piece. Again, I haven't had one of these version 3 VFCs apart, so I would have thought I can just turn the adjuster out. There we go. That can come out there. We've got this little adjuster which has one little Phillips style screw on the top. Let's extract that. We'll just pull this little countersunk screw which holds that part in, but just doesn't want to fall out there. Just giving the screw something to push against. So that can slide off like that. I imagine they get these on by splitting the barrels, and then we should be able to pull this off. Now, where is my URGI tool? Because we do have a specific tool for these rails. Right, here's my little tool. This is a real one I got off Brownells, but it's a proper Geisley tool. Should be well suited for this. And what you can do with these, if the barrel nuts are stuck, is you can just tap it here with a hammer. And they also have a socket for a 1/2 inch, but we can slide that off now, and then that outer barrel system comes off. Very unique system. It's annoying that you can't get all this stuff off without splitting the outer barrel, which we might have to get in a vise to do that. And then we can pull the plug that sits in the end of the receiver and the hop unit. So there we have VFC hop unit, and what basically happens is as that adjuster slides forward, it just puts pressure on this bar and puts that over into the hop chamber. We'll just close that back on there for now, and we can put the main part of it to one side, and we'll take a look at this fancy hop unit. So pull this out here. Got a couple of pieces that fall out. Chamber itself, a little ring, interesting. And then they give you just a bit of a breakdown of the components here on how everything looks when it's apart. So it's pretty self-explanatory that that's going to go over the hop rubber. We've got a bunch of little bits and pieces in this little clear bag, some little stoppers, probably some spares, some O-rings, a washer, and a separate arm. There's actually a third little stopper there, and a separate arm. So I think the arm that's in there currently is for like a nub, where this is like a slight concave nub there. So never fitted one of these before, have no idea what the crack is, how it goes together. Literally just ordered it and hope for the best. So it should be pretty self-explanatory. We've got a dial that we move on the back there. It does have a system which you can see where it actually clamps the barrel down to center it, which is very cool. Little stop for the barrel there. This is all pretty straightforward. Not sure how this piece comes. Yeah, it just comes out the back there. And then we can pull the hop arm. Okay, so we're going to need a barrel for this thing. Let's grab a barrel. What do we have? A bunch of barrels that are far too long. I think we have some Marui barrels here, so it's going to be about the right length. That one's going to be a bit too short. Either a Marui barrel or it's a Guns Modify barrel or a Double Eagle barrel, all of which are or should be compatible. So we do have the hot rubber, like so, and the little nub as well. What is interesting is the arm that has like more like a nub style, unless this is not a nub style and this is just, you know, sort of like a two-pronged thing. If you were to put like a hop nub like that, it's not, it should be the other way, so it should be like that. So not too sure there. So the hot rubber is pretty self-explanatory. We can just fit that onto the barrel, make sure it's centered. Now we probably are going to have to clip this off, I believe. So we can just take a look at that diagram. You might not be able to see this, just to see which orientation the parts go in. So it looks like this part, which holds the hot rubber, slides in from the back like that and holds in place. So to do that, we're going to have to fit this hot rubber, and we're going to need to clip off the little spline that comes on the side of the hot rubber. So you can do that with a pair of snips. One and two. It's pretty good, to be honest. Did try this with a Flamingo in the MPX once and it didn't like it. So we can clean that up a little bit with a file and just take off the little bits of rubber that are sticking out, because we don't want it applying any side pressure. So it will muddy up the rubber a little bit. We're just smoothing that section that we've cut out. We're going to need a little bit of help with the rubber getting into this little bracket piece. So just Just going to put a little bit of oil on the outside and we'll spread this around like that, and then we can slide this piece in. Just check I've got the orientation correct. Like that. That is bottomed out there, and then this can slide into, hopefully. I've got these little pins in the way. Are these going to fall out if we push them? Maybe. Looks like they're held in there with a little bit of grease. Slide our barrel in, slide that piece in. We don't have the cutouts to put that section of the barrel in, so we might have to use the original barrel for now, unless I've got something else. I've got barrels everywhere, they're just far too long, so you need something like a barrel like that that's got the multiple cuts. So let's pull this barrel back off. You have to let me know in the comments down below what barrels you guys use in your VFCs. I always go to lilac stuff, but if it needs that extra cut, I don't really feel like machining a barrel and putting new cuts in the barrel. Maybe a crazy jet is the way to go. To do a little bit of research on what people's preference is with barrels with the VFCs. Pull this apart here. Let's take these screws out. I'm reluctant to come out, so we can split this. Come on, there we go. So what you need is a barrel that's got the extra cuts on like that. So I'll just have to order something in and then switch it out when it arrives. So let's get this back on there, make sure it's lined up as possible. Slide this back in, pins are in the way again. Let's take these pins out of the way. They are held in with a little bit of grease, which is nice. So they're not like falling out all over the place. So this little black collar lines itself up with the hop unit. And then we should also have, see the cuts don't line up with that either. It's not like through far enough. Ah, there we go. Wasn't quite seated. Let's try that again. So that should line up, which it does. We have this piece here, which will hold the barrel in place and should hold it nice and true. Again, if it wants to go on, it doesn't quite want to go on. Why does that not want to fit? Does it not fit a VFC barrel? What the hell? Is it just going to be a tight fit? Yeah, it's going to be a very tight fit, so line that back up. This is going to be a tight press in. And you do have to make sure you've got it as aligned as possible. There we go. So once it's aligned, it's fairly easy to press in there, to be honest. Just make sure that's pushed in as far as it will go. Everything's lined up, which is nice. I believe now we just fit that collar. So the pins are in. Number 10, what's that? Spacer shim, air seal O-ring. So we take this little collar now, and then what that will do is as we tighten this up, it basically pushes these 3 pins in all at the same time to center the barrel in the hop chamber. So that clamp isn't quite clamped down. I'm just going to give it a tap. So that does have to be clamped down all the way. Put a little collar over. That will clamp down the barrel, so I imagine we just hand tight it. We don't have to go silly. It did say on there that you run a little O-ring like that and then this spacer. I know they're slightly different for the GHKs and the VFCs, so it doesn't really say chamber centering O-ring. Number 12. Okay. Well, we're just gonna go with it. So we want our concave hop arm. Slide that in there. Very easy. We'll apply a little bit of, slightest amount of lubrication to this O-ring because we don't want it getting stuck. Just the tiniest amount. I'm literally using the residual that's on the brush. Slide that back in. The adjuster fits in like that. That adjusts nice and smooth. And then we have this washer on the front, which is the closure shim. So maybe that all goes together. I did see somebody mention that with certain, I can't remember if it was the GHK or the VFC, that some of these parts aren't quite required, but we're going to situate this in place. That goes in there like that. So how would you access that all the way down in there to adjust it? Would you have to sort of, have I got a Allen key? Do you have to like get an Allen key and like sort of come in at an angle and rotate this round? I don't know. I will have to double check. You've got that shim in there that's wedged itself in. So maybe we don't need that shim. I probably should check real quick, shouldn't I? I'm going to check because I don't want to put it in, get it wrong, and then people say that I'm not giving it a fair fitment. So let me do that and I'll be back in just a moment. So I was correct in my assumption. I just wanted to be sure. I wasn't sure about this shim, and basically when you're fitting this to a GHK, you don't fit this shim. So when you're doing a VFC, you just assemble it as is. There's a little small O-ring there, which I'm not too sure about, because number 9 air seal O-ring, number 8 friction O-ring, which goes on the hop adjustment wheel. Tensioner ring, a barrel clip, barrel spacers, air seal over and friction O-ring. So yeah, I'm not too sure what this little O-ring's for. Again, there's nothing in here to say fit this, don't fit that. So there's definitely an O-ring missing on this installation guide, which is this thin one. Unless the thin one's meant to go over the barrel, but it's far too big. So yeah, that doesn't make sense. So I don't know whether that's a spare, maybe. Is there one under here? No. If you know what that spare O-ring's for, you'll have to let me know down in the comments below. I think I'm being too overly cautious with this hop unit. I've never fitted one before, so I'm just making sure to do it justice and fit it all correctly. It is nice that they've made this where it fits. I mean, I'm not really too clued up on GHK gas blowback M4s, but it's nice that they've done it in a way where you can fit it on 2 different platforms. So I presume that's what they usually make parts for, is VFCs and GHK. So that's all done. I do need to get rid of these adjuster parts, I think, because we don't need them anymore. So that one just looks like a pin. So we'll tap that out real quick. If I can. Punched out. And then we'll grab that with some pliers. They're probably right in front of me, but I don't see them. I just want something to grab it with. I'll just use these. Come on. so I can pull that pin out, take off this adjuster, and then I presume, now that looks like it slides in, so it could just be a case of we remove these two grub screws or loosen them off to take the barrel apart, which would be nice. 2 mils too loose. That's a strange one. What size is that then? It's not a 2.5, and it's not a 2, unless it's just, it might just, the grub screws might be worn when they've screwed it together. I might have rounded off a little bit. Yeah, this one's definitely been rounded off because the tool doesn't fit. Can we do a sneaker with a Torx? Like that one. So common in airsoft, this is, where you've got grub screws and they round them off from factory, so then you're having to use unconventional tools to take it apart and put it together. Because I was using the correct size, which is a 2 mil, but one side is just completely rounded. Anyway, back on point. Let's remove these two screws. I'm hoping then we can just slide the barrel apart. Would it be so easy? Because it literally just slots straight in. I don't know if you can see that, so it's not going to turn in unless it's heavied up with Loctite. See if we can tap it off. Yeah, it is working. There we go. Now we can slide that off and we can get rid of this adjuster. Get that gone, and then fit the barrel back together. So the bottom's there. That's the bottom as well. Push this back together. Just tap it back on. Screw this back together. It's a very long-winded video. Apologies for that. When I haven't messed with these things before, I just like to be, you know, and when we're all doing it at home and we're not in, you know, you guys won't have cameras unless you do online stuff as well. But it's a very different experience because, you know, years past, if I'm just building cool stuff and I'm in my own workshop and there's no cameras on, I could just take my time, chill out, got some music on, maybe I'm having a beer, and just get to it. Now, when the camera's on, it's a totally different thing because I need to be aware that you guys are watching and I'm trying to make sure everything I do is correct. So that is all together there. And then we should just be able to slide this in. Now, I do want to just test before I put it in there the adjustment. So we just rotate that. You might not be able to. So as I rotate it, the hop starts to come down into the barrel. And then if we go the other way, I don't know how easy that's going to be to do. What I'll do is I'll leave a little bit on. I don't know how easy that's going to be to do, how easy that's going to be when the gun's together. So we'll slide this in. And all these scratches you see here, that's from new. So let's use our little tool, tighten this up. I'm just going to give that a tap. So that's back together. We've got rid of that crappy adjuster, and I fitted the barrel upside down. I fitted it. No, the hop's the right way, but the outer barrel's upside down, so I fitted it the wrong way. It's so easy with you know, bear with me. I'm going to praise Marui here, but with the Marui you can't get it wrong. It goes in one way. It's very self-explanatory. Where this can be fitted both ways, and it wouldn't really damage anything. It's just that I need the cutouts in the barrel for the gas block to screw into. I do want to get rid of this aluminium barrel, so what I'll do is I'll come in, once I've got a barrel sorted, I'll come in and swap it over, and then we'll get to maybe we'll take it back to the gauntlet and give it another try, which wouldn't be a bad idea, would it? So this is obviously a fake gas block now. I'm just going to leave this in place. I could maybe get a normal like faux gas tube and it would sit in the upper receiver, but for now we're just going to get it back together because we want to get on to the exciting stuff that is building a bolt action upper for this thing, which I'm very, very excited about. So we'll just put that back like that. I'll come in and change that adjustment screw for a gas tube when I can find one of my other rifles that doesn't need it. Pop these back together. Just going to loosely tighten these screws up on the Geisley handguard, because what we need to do before we fully tighten it down is we've got these little screws on the side here, and basically what they do is they push against the receiver to center the rail. So I'm sure you're fully aware of how these Geisley rails work, so you just have to take a bit of time adjusting it. Back that one off, back that one off, come in, adjust that so it's fairly straight. The geometry doesn't perfectly line up anyway, but once you've got it where you want it, you just alternate with these two, just nip them up so it holds it in place and keeps it nice and straight there like that. Once that's done, we can tighten these screws up. When I've got my proper barrel and stuff in here, I'll come in and torque that because I've got a torque wrench. We need to be careful here because we don't want to lose these spare parts. Again, no idea what that O-ring's for. It wasn't on the diagram, so who knows. Maybe it's an internal O-ring that I didn't see. So we've got our 4UAD hop unit in there. We've got our 4UAD booking, hop unit, hop rubber. What I will say is it doesn't really seem to grab on the nozzle all that much. So usually when you fit like a nice hot rubber, I'm holding it with my thumb here, but it'll grab the nozzle and you'll feel like how good the seal is. But it doesn't quite grip it. Maybe the VFCs work a different way, but there we go. That's all fitted. Just a case of putting our accessories back on, which I did enjoy using the Sandman on this rifle. I think it does suit it. I have recorded an episode talking about these suppressors, but it didn't go very well. So it goes on nice and easy like that. I'm not a huge fan that it turns the barrel as it does it, but we'll shove our EOTech back on there. And this upper is pretty much ready to go. So we've got our red dot, we've got our torch, we've got our tracer, and now we've got our gas blowback VFC version 3. We're going to get a little bit more adventurous, shall we say, and we're going to fit that AR bolt action conversion kit. Just making sure I tidy up all these screws and get them all in the same place. There's the original rubber. Not a bad rubber by the looks of it. It's got a good contact patch on it. And yeah, stay tuned for that one. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the VFC content at the moment. It's nice that we've got a VFC that actually works really well. I do need to change out the inner barrel. Let me know if you guys tech your own VFCs. I want to know down below in the comments what's your preferred brand of barrel to put in these VFCs. Let me know, because all my Maruis have the cuts here, so it doesn't have the secondary cut, which means all the stainless bit barrels and stuff that I've got aren't going to work. So let me know in the comments below that. Thanks for watching as always. Hopefully if you fit in this hop unit, I'll try and edit it down as much as I can, but hopefully it helps you in some way. Thanks for tuning in as always, and from me and Bench, we'll be seeing you in the next one.